Hey, what's going on, folks? This is Ty from Breaker Culture, and I'm excited to be a part of Behind the Numbers episode 3. Again, we're running it through the Breaker Culture channel this week. Hope you've been tuning into the past 2 weeks of episodes because Tyson's been doing a good job of coordinating and helping us understand. The point of this podcast, at least from the onset, is to kind of help folks catch up throughout the week and figure out like what did happen in the NFL the previous week, and not just with stats and all the fantasy stuff, but what happened from a collecting and hobby perspective. And so we hope that as you listen to this throughout the week, you get a good perspective. And as you're buying and selling throughout the week, you can have some more insight. So anyway, what's up, Tyson? Thanks for having me on again.
What's going on, Ty? Great to see you as usual. Now you got a nice little backdrop. Looks like you're in Canada almost.
Yeah, I know. I'm wearing the vest today, so I'm like, I got to go to the mountains. So
yeah, there you go. That's awesome. Perfect.
Yeah.
So, week three. What do you think of week 3 overall? I thought we a little healthier, but I still thought there was a lot to talk about. I'm just gonna start off with I think you got me. I think the Josh Allen discussion is on board, my man. I think he impressed me because he stumbled a little bit against the Rams and he came back and he made a beautiful throw to basically win the game, a little touch throw to the tight end. I'm thoroughly impressed, and I think Mahomes is always going to be in the MVP conversations because he does amazing things, as we saw on Monday, and we'll get to that.
Yep.
But I think Allen and Wilson, I think we kind of have a 3 little horse race at this point. I think those 3 to me are the ones that are standing out for MVP. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think there's any debate. I mean, I think it's Russell Wilson, maybe. Who'd you say the third one was? Wilson, Allen, and who?
Mahomes. Yeah, Mahomes.
Okay, I would probably put Aaron Rodgers in there right now just because he's looking pretty sharp and kind of winning numerous ways. But, yeah, those 4, man.
Yeah.
Josh Allen was awesome this week.
Yeah. Yeah, I
selfishly was like, oh, yeah. That advice is proving to be well.
I was a little concerned because they did stumble. They were dominating, and the Rams just stormed back, and he had a couple turnovers in a row. And I was like, oh, he's making those same mistakes. And then they just came back and won the game. I was like, Ty still has the upper hand on this one. So, but yeah. Speaking of Rodgers, we can talk about he outduels Breeze on Sunday night in a pretty convincing fashion. I felt like the Packers really controlled that game more than I expected. And I was really impressed with Rodgers' efficiency in that game against the Saints defense. He did not seem to have any issues, and they just kind of rolled through. The Packers they're looking really strong in the NFC right now.
Man, oh man, I tell you what, when the run game is working for Green Bay, like they are a dangerous team.
Yeah.
I'm thoroughly impressed with what Green Bay is doing right now.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of the demise of McCarthy's era, was they got too accustomed to letting Rodgers sit back there and just dime balls everywhere all over the field.
Yeah,
and when they're balanced, it just makes it easier for Rodgers too. I think Rodgers is starting to figure that out. If Jones is rolling and they have things clicking on the chains, he has more options. He has more play action. He can do a lot more things with the football, which I think his efficiency is just really high. He doesn't have the numbers that Wilson and Allen have, like in terms of yardage, in terms of TDs, but the efficiency and everything that offense is doing, moving up and down the field is it's MVP caliber. Like, they're just moving the ball.
For sure. So, I mean, you look at Aaron Rodgers, and we can go through some of these prices in a little bit, but his 2005 tops current PSA 10 for less than $2,000.
Yeah, it's still
to
too
me,
low.
That's a screaming buy right now.
Yeah, still too low. Already a Super Bowl champion, in first ballot Hall of Famer. Yeah, that's way too low. Way too low for sure.
Yeah.
So I came up with a new term. I'm sure this has been out, and I'm not going to put my name on it from trademark, but I think it's time that we can start saying they falconed it. It's the new term in football. It's the falconed it. Falcons again just choked away another win. It's 2 weeks in a row they've given it away, and it was Nick Foles to the rescue. So Trubisky got benched, and so if you had any hope for Trubisky in terms of a silver or trying to help yourself out there, I think that's kind of dwindled a bit as Foles is back in, and as soon as Foles comes in, they win. I think the crazy part is he got benched, they came back and won, and then you think about it, you're like, well, the Bears must be like 1-2, but the Bears are 3-0. They're 3-0, right. And they switched quarterbacks, which I think is just unheard of.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because when we were watching that game, I'm thinking, oh, this is a no-brainer. They're going to Nick Foles, and I'm thinking, well, shoot, they're 2-0.
Right.
Like, this doesn't pan out, they're probably going right back to Trubisky. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That you just knew like that was already in motion.
Yeah.
Right. They're already thinking when the opportunity is right, let's make a move to Foles.
Yeah, that's just the message from up top. We're going to give Trubisky 2-3 games, one last shot. So we put the second pick in the draft on him. And soon as Foles went in, all production of Allen Robinson went up. All the production with the receivers just went up. And you're just like, man, this is just, it's too obvious. They have no choice. And so I think the Trubisky era is officially over. I don't think I'm not making a hot take there. But
I'm curious your thoughts on this. So you see something like that happen. Do you think when a guy like Foles pops in there, is it more about Foles and his leadership that props up Allen Robinson and those guys? Or is it like Trubisky was just such a poor leader where it was dragging down a guy like Robinson? Like what do you credit to all of a sudden Robinson and the receiving crew looking excited to play again?
I just think like fluidity in the offense. I think just Foles comes in and he knows what they're trying to do. And I think Trubisky just has never gotten in that rhythm of really running that offense the way Nagy's wanted, because Nagy's a really good offensive mind. And so it's almost like they've just been forced in a square peg in a round hole for so long. I don't think Foles is going to be a top 10 quarterback or anything, but he's going to be efficient. He knows what to do. And I just think that he won't make a lot of mistakes like Trubisky, or miss the easy ones that Trubisky has missed. And so to me, that's more of this. That's kind of the best way I can explain it. I don't want to pretend I know the Bears offense from front to back, but I just think Foles is just going to be the veteran presence that can just run it. Leadership a little bit, I'm sure, then trust. Definitely trust. I'm sure maybe those guys in practice have been calling for Foles or hoping for Foles for a long time. And as soon as Foles gets in, they just like, okay, we're ready to go. So, who knows?
It's crazy because you can go snag a Foles rookie for pretty cheap. PSA 10. You can either go with his Prism or you can go with his Chrome. I think his Chrome card's awesome. It's an awesome card with his throwing. Yeah. With the motion, everything is sweet. Is that a buy to you now? I mean, now that Foles is back in, or is his time come and gone in the hobby?
He is a Super Bowl champion. So, I mean, you do have to account for that. He did win the Super Bowl with the Eagles, so he still has appeal. They are 3-0. My only thing is I don't believe the Bears are good still. Even though they won against the Falcons, and they're 3-0, I think they're going to get a rude awakening soon, and we'll see how it goes then. But I just don't see them making a run that will make his cards go way up. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
So I got the Patriots humble Gruden and the Raiders. I thought the Raiders were kind of getting some momentum coming off that Monday night win we didn't get to talk about last week because they were playing while we were talking. Yeah. But the Raiders had a nice win against the Saints, and the Patriots they really steamrolled them. 250 yards rushing as a team. They just absolutely torched the Raiders. I just felt like really kind of widened our eyes to, okay, the Raiders aren't there yet. Not that I believe that they were, but I was surprised by how lopsided that game was. I thought the Raiders could get the running game going and make it interesting, and they didn't. So any thoughts on that game?
Yeah, so two thoughts. One, I think we always underestimate how good a Patriots D is. Like Belichick is a great defensive coach. Second, I'm a little concerned if I'm the Patriots with their lack of ability to get the ball down the field. Yeah. They just and maybe it's just the receiving core, right? Maybe what do you got? Edelman and N'Keal Harry. It's basically what you got. Yeah, it's basically it. Couple young tight ends, but you got to. I mean, they're just not stretching the field. So luckily, Cam Newton. Maybe that's part of their strategy. Cam Newton is a dynamic runner, and it's hard to figure out where the ball is going to be handed off. Cam Newton going to keep it, but I'd be a little concerned with they're relatively predictable. Yeah. I think we'll get to it a little bit later when we get to the buy ourselves, but I'm getting concerned with Josh Jacobs kind of falling into the same, I don't want to say the same pattern because we're talking about 2 years, but last year he got beat up and then was working through it and his production dropped because he was beat up playing with a bunt like a hurt shoulder last year. And now he's banged up again trying to play through it. And I worry that he's going to get in that position where he's not going to be able to be his full, use his full talent, which won't be good for him or for him in the hobby. If, he's under 4 yards a carry, they're just not getting a lot of movement with him. He had the nice 3 touchdown game to start, but his efficiency's definitely dropped the last 2 weeks. So I am watching that for sure. Can you not say too much about Jacobs? I got to trade him on my fantasy team first before we down him. Yeah, I'll be right there with you. I got him in a couple of spots too.
the beauty of a tie. Had the very rare, always fun time of a tie. Basically, the Bengals and Eagles didn't want to win. So that game was, I kind of watched the recap in that game, and it was just like, just nobody wanted to make a play to win it, and just was tough to watch. I don't like ties in football. Why even just put a clock in it? Just do two till somebody scores. It's not, just go with it. But Burrow looked good. He's taken tons of hits. That's the only concern. He still looked good. Wentz looked the same. I don't see any improvement or anything to make you say, wait, maybe Wentz is good. I will give Wentz a little bit of I'm not going to give him much of an excuse, but his receiving core is gone. He's got Ertz. He has Ertz and nothing. So I do feel for that, but just the Eagles don't look good either. So overall, that game was pretty tough to watch, but I just had to mention the rarity of a tie was had.
Yeah, that was tough, right? And you're right. Joe Burrow didn't have a bad game at all. Like I do feel for him, because you get the sense that by week 7 he's gonna have an injury or be beat up pretty bad, because he's taking some ridiculous hits.
The only thing, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but I mean, to their credit, like they just keep battling. Like they didn't lose, so they're making progress. And the standout to me is just how incredibly important Tyler Boyd is. Like Tyler Boyd, is a legitimate receiver. I'm impressed with him. Yeah,
and T. Higgins made some noise, had 2 touchdowns, I believe. And T. Higgins had a nice game, getting on our rookie radar soon. The thing that I'm just kind of caught in the middle on is I love the volume in terms of reps that they're giving Burrow for throws. He's getting a lot of experience, but I'm also curious if they're getting too loose with that because he's taking so many hits. Like, can they tailor that back a little bit so we don't have to put him in so many, like, run the ball? Like, Mixon's only getting like 14 carries a game. And it's just like, give him 20, just 6 less dropbacks, 6 less chances for Burrow to get hit right now. So I kind of hope they work on managing that as the season progresses, because he can't take 9 hits a game all year. That's not going to work.
Right.
So,
yeah, I agree.
So moving to the next rookie quarterback, Herbert lost a close one. Panthers won without CMC. Watched the recap on that game as well. That it was a close game. I thought the Chargers actually had a shot to pull off the hook and ladder. I don't know if you saw that. But
I watched it live.
Keenan Allen just kind of botched the pitch. It was a perfect throw to Allen on the dig, and when you watch that side view. Eckler would have just walked in because all the defense was flowing with Allen. So it was set up perfectly. Just too bad we didn't see that. So, I mean, we could have got a nice one little win there. But again, Herbert over 300 yards again. One pick, the corner just sat, and he just threw to a spot that the zone was there and got picked. So, I mean, that happens. Overall, again, another impressive game. Do you think the Chargers are going to go back to Tyrod still, or do you think they're forced to keep him in?
Well, I mean, I think the reality is it's 2 losses. First off, so it'll be easy for them to make the switch back to Tyrod because Herbert's not winning, but like, to Herbert's credit, I mean, you can see it in the hobby too, where you're starting to see Herbert's coming up on Burrow with prices. I think people are realizing, like, okay, this guy is the real deal,
right?
I mean, they're basically on the equal playing field now, within a few bucks on most cards. But yeah, he's had back-to-back weeks where he was a play away from beating both. I mean, basically the Chiefs and the Panthers. He should have beat. They should have won.
Right.
Just won both games.
And I think it might be kind of weird in a way that if Lynn goes back to Tyrod Taylor, whatever, and Herbert sits, I almost feel like the hobby is not going to react. I feel like his prices are going to stay high, and he's almost just going to he's just going to sit there because they saw it, and now he doesn't have any, like, him sitting won't hurt him. You know what I mean? Like, he won't be injured. Like, so he'll have a nice little cushion in the hobby, I bet.
Agreed. Yeah, he becomes a pretty safe buy.
Yeah. So I just put down just simply, New York football is not a thing.
Giants are so bad. I mean, Jets are awful.
The Giants and Jets games were just atrocious. Like, Daniel Jones was awful. It was just, both those teams are reeling hard. I just put up just a couple quick little things for you here. So on the year, Ty, Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold combined are 1,261 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 8 picks. Josh Allen on the year is 1,038 yards, 10 TDs throwing, and 2 TDs rushing, 1 pick.
Oh my goodness.
I couldn't believe. I knew it was going to be close when I thought about putting those numbers together, and I just couldn't believe that it was that close, even in yardage. He's only 200
They
yards
have,
off.
they have a combined 5 touchdowns in 6 total games together.
Yep.
Russell Wilson threw that in week 1.
Right. Right. Russell Wilson had 5 touchdowns yesterday. Or Sunday.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. Machine.
Yeah. So it's I have Wilson's too. Wilson's is 924. He doesn't have as many passing yards, and he has 14 touchdowns in the year. So
Got it.
It's incredible how bad they've been was the point. Do you think like Daniel Jones, like how much time does he have in the hobby? Like before people start bailing, they're panicking now, or are they going to give him a year because of Barkley? Like what are they going to do?
That's a tough one. He's going to get a pass, right? Because of Barkley to a certain extent. Even it doesn't matter if he's in New York or not, right? You lose basically the top 3 running back in the NFL, you're going to get a pass. But I am very interested to see what the hobby does. Because you saw him peak at $1,500, and he's back to $1,200-ish for his 19, Prism Silver PSA 10.
Yeah,
like that's got to drop below $1,000, right? It's got to drop another 20% or so. You would think so.
I just don't. And he played the Niners last week, so the Niners are an elite defense. So, let's see it one more week without Barkley. But if he has anything like last week happen next week, it's just like, the Rams are still tough. I believe they play the Rams, but it's just like he's got to start showing something. It doesn't matter what you have for weapons as a quarterback. You still should be able to make some noise. You should be able to make some plays where people are like, oh, okay. Yeah. If he's not doing anything, it's going to be tough for you. I think his prices are going to be falling pretty drastically. We know we've kind of agreed last show that Darnold's at this point toast. Like there's no really reason that his prices should be hanging anywhere where they're at. They're probably going to keep dropping.
Yep. So, what are they at now? 700, 800?
It was 800 last time we talked, and I'm sure they've dropped since then.
Yeah. Yeah, there's zero reason to believe in Sam Darnold. He does not look competent back there at all.
Right. I know. Then to your numbers you put out on Patreon, you had the Kyler Murray was one of the kind of highest volume, highest selling players, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he had a rough game. He had 3 picks, and I lost the Lions. It was pretty surprising. Any concerns there, or do you think just one bad game?
Look, he's still young, first off, and I watched a lot of that game because it was popping up in Red Zone. I didn't think he looked horrible. He made some electric plays. That's the thing with him. He's like they were saying before the game, like must see TV now with Kyler Murray. That's the kind of guy. That's the guy he is.
Yeah.
So
he's
a make or break type guy.
He's definitely electrifying. I really think they're not helping him out in terms of like the running games. The running game is non-existent. Yeah. And I think the volume of throwing he's going to throw picks with that type of volume, but I really hope that they can get, I know they run the air raid and that's kind of their style, but they got to get Kenyon Drake going a little bit to kind of support him like Rodgers has supported. We were talking about earlier. I think Kyler really could use that because that will just give him another angle to attack. And I think they're underutilizing that position right now.
Agreed. Yeah. And you referenced the Patreon pricing. So we have a report we put out for rookies and their PSA 10s in football, or every sport but football. Kyler's number 3 right now for non-2020 rookies. So I think we run it back through 2001, right? Is that what we go back to? Tom Brady?
Yeah.
He's number 3 at just over $4,000 for his 19 Prism Silver PSA 10. And like, you just got to stop and think for a minute. Like, I love Kyler Murray. I think he's a great quarterback. Like $4,000. Yeah. You can go buy 2 Aaron Rodgers PSA 10 rookies.
I just don't.
1.5 Russell Wilsons.
Yeah.
It blows my mind how we value like the electrifying player.
The next hot thing. Next hot thing. Yeah. Give me Breeze. Give me Rodgers. Give me Wilson.
Give me Josh Allen for $1,200.
Right now.
Him.
Yep. Have to 100%. Like that's 100%. That's clear as day to me. But yeah, I mean, he's fun player to watch 100%, but he's not quite to that level for sure. Yeah. And last little topic for the week 3 recap. We will add the Chiefs and Ravens a little bit, but Brady's starting to get his rhythm a bit. I know Broncos were second string quarterback. They weren't much of a threat as a team at that juncture, but Brady's was efficient, got 2 touchdowns to Evans, touchdown to Godwin. I think he had 3 touchdowns on the day, and they just kind of rolled. So it just kind of seems like they're kind of getting more and more comfortable. Even Gronk got a little more involved this week. So it just seems like that team's just kind of picking up its production. Because I don't think Denver's a rollover for defense. Their defense is still relatively they're relatively strong. They're not. I know they're missing Miller right now, but they still have some players.
Yeah.
But so what do you think about Brady now? Do you think he's starting to change your mind a little bit from week 1 or not yet?
I mean, there's probably not a lot Brady can do to hurt his value. I mean, that's the reality, right? He's sitting, I mean, I shouldn't say that. He was at 10 grand for his 2000 Bowman Chrome back in early August, and he's sitting at 8,300 now. So he's let's say he's down 20%. But yeah, I mean, Mike Evans, what did he have? 2 catches for 2 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think that's what it's
yeah, basically a goal line, tight end line.
Right. I don't know. I'm not reading too much into the loss against a depleted Broncos team.
Yeah.
Brady was getting the ball back every 2 minutes because the Broncos couldn't move the ball.
Right. Yeah. And then, the Panthers the week before, they're not anything to write home about either. So still got to see it against a good team. I agree with you there. But it's just nice to see him get his rhythm and still be productive at, like we talked about with a new team, new system at that age. Just still impressive. Like I think, like I said, that storyline still, that Patriots, Bucks, let's see what happens between those 2 teams. I think it's still pretty interesting.
Who did the Bucks play this week? They got looking at it here. They play the Chargers. So there you go. That's a pretty good. That'll give you a good barometer of where they at because the Chargers are a pretty impressive D.
Yeah, they have a good defense for sure.
Yeah.
Kind of finished up there at that Monday night thriller that people wanted to see. It was actually lackluster, but Chiefs and Ravens. I told a friend this morning. I was like, I couldn't believe that score was only a 14-point game. I felt like the Chiefs were up 30. Like that game, just Lamar, nothing was working with Lamar. He couldn't complete a pass. One of his worst passing games of his career. And that kind of stage against Mahomes was really disappointing. I don't know if I'd say it's concerning, but I do think that in the back of your mind, if you are a person who's got money in Lamar Jackson cards, you need to wonder what's going to be like if he can't run. Like, is his career going to be limited when he's a straight thrower? I think that's always been the question. And I think that game last night just made you feel kind of worried about that going forward. I think Mahomes was electric. Mahomes made every throw, all those sidearm throws again, extending plays, had a rushing touchdown, just incredible. Like I said, he's in that MVP conversation, of course. But Lamar Jackson's performance was a bit concerning to me on a 1 week level. But what did you think, Ty?
Yeah, I think the thing that stood out to me with Lamar is that you sense the difference in leadership styles for both of them. Like, it's so important to lead your troops. We were talking about Trubisky earlier, where Foles comes in and Foles is a natural leader and the guys responded. Like, you don't get the sense that there's a lot of joy and excitement on that team right now. Right. I don't know. That's just, maybe this is my read on it, but yeah, it doesn't seem to instill confidence that he's going to take over.
Yeah, he just seems like he's kind of the player when things are going really well, then he's going really well. But if he's got a little adversity, it just seems like things kind of fall apart faster for him. Like his confidence, just like his throwing ability. I mean, I'm not going to put it all in this game, but then you look back to his last 2 playoff performances before that. Obviously, his rookie year, he had that horrendous playoff performance, which everybody was selling like crazy. And then last year, he was MVP and they got bounced in the first round because he had a similar game that he had Monday night. So Lamar Jackson's really going to have to start putting it on really good teams soon and really primetime positions to start kind of getting my long-term love for him.
I agree. Yeah, I am not. I wouldn't say I'm bullish Lamar Jackson at all.
Right.
Not to mention, the way he runs, he is one nasty hit away from being out of the year.
His first carry that he had 12 yards, he kind of got hit and rolled up on, and it looked like he kind of turned his ankle a bit. And I was like, man, I think he might have been playing through something, but I just saw that very first play. I was like, he took a bad hit already. And KC actually, in terms of defense, they match up good against the Ravens because they have linebackers that can fly. So they, Ravens really need to be more of a north and south approach, and they weren't doing that. And so they're playing right into KC's defense. So
they did.
Disappointed that, but
Yeah.
All right.
Well, so you're looking at for a Prism Lamar. What is it sitting at now? Pulling that up.
Yeah. Let's get
It's
that.
it's expensive.
Oh yeah.
Well, while we're talking, I'll find it.
Yeah, so like as you're talking, we'll just also kind of run through some of the rookies here. We already kind of talked about Burrow's day. Again, he took 8 sacks. Just so everybody understands that number. Burrow took 8 sacks. So that's not hits on the quarterback. He took 8 sacks, and I think his worst one that he took wasn't a sack, where he got crunched both sides by Graham and another guy, another huge D lineman. So that's something to be concerning with. Herbert, 1 pick, 1 fumble lost was kind of his negative. We already talked about his 300-yard day, 330, a touchdown. Hook and ladder could have won it. We talked about Jonathan Taylor slowed down a little bit, 13 for 59. I didn't see that coming. I really thought the game flow with there too. They were just kind of up the whole game. I thought he would have kind of ate more, but maybe they just wanted to save his workload because they were just ahead by so much against the Jets. But CeeDee Lamb 5 for 65, slowed down a little bit. Judy with a backup quarterback 5 for 55. The big rookie performance of the week was Justing Jefferson, 7 for 175 and a touchdown. Really cementing his kind of taking over that receiver next to Thielen, which used to be Diggs. Might even overtake Thielen as that number 1 receiver there. I've been kind of a big fan of Jefferson through the process, and it was nice to see him get that target share and really cash in last week. T. Higgins, 5 for 40 and 2 TDs. And then the last one, then I'll let you kind of rebuttal with any receivers you want to talk about. But Brandon Ayuk, like we said, I got to get his name down, but 5 catches for 70, and he also had 3 carries for 31 and a touchdown. He had 8 targets. They're having injuries too, but he's getting the volume now and he's getting looks. I was really surprised with him because Debo's about to come back. And to see him have 3 carries, it's like, man, they like this guy like Debo because they're getting him in the end-around game and just getting him involved and want the ball in his hands. And when the Niners do that with guys, it excites me because I feel like they think he's a talented player. So I liked seeing Brandon Ayuk's line. But anyways, any of those receivers, I mean, obviously Jefferson stood out, but what do you think, Ty?
Jefferson was a huge standout, period.
Yeah.
I just did numbers this morning on rated rookie 2020 rated rookie prices and Mosaic base prices, and Jefferson's all the way up to number 9 on the list, like of all rookies this year. So he's, the only other receiver in front of him is CeeDee Lamb,
right?
You got Judy behind him, you got some other big names behind him, Ruggs behind him. He became relevant basically in a matter of an hour. So
he was getting a little bit here and there the first 2 weeks. You could kind of see this building. He was on the field, and it just seemed like last week, Cousins just finally said, "I'm throwing this guy the ball." And I'm pretty sure he was 9 targets, caught 7 of 9. That's great efficiency. That's just really a remarkable day. It's kind of his rookie coming out party. So it'd be nice to see that continue. The Vikings are still losing they're still losing games, which is surprising. I'm really surprised the Vikings are 0-3. I didn't see that coming. But yeah, we'll see how that kind of builds off. If they're going to keep playing from behind, he's going to keep getting a lot of looks.
Yep.
So we had Moss, Rieger, Akers, and Ruggs didn't play. So those guys are out with injury. Chase Young as well didn't play. Josh Robinson, even though we don't have a card with him yet, it's another 2 touchdown day on Thursday night, even though they lost. He had 6 catches for 83 to go with his 46 yards rushing. Still a 100-yard day. He's kind of become the little sleeper fantasy star that everybody kind of wants to own right now. Gibson had another touchdown for the Redskins, 9:46. And then the last one I was going to mention was Shenault, was 5 for 33. And the reason I want to mention Shenault is that even though he only had 5 for 33, very similar to Brandon Ayuk, like the Jags want to get the ball to Shenault. They keep finding ways to get him the rock outside the numbers, quick screens. They're trying to get him involved as much as possible, which I think is encouraging if you're been rooting or wanting Shenault as part of your Mosaic base cards. Where was the Shenault in the Mosaic base? Do you remember?
I'll tell you here in a second. Shenault his base is running about $3, so he's down to 25 on the list.
Okay, that's a good buy.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
They're going to be throwing the ball, so
for sure. Yeah, I was going to say just one comment, hobby related, right? If you're looking at potentially good buys for some of these guys, and you're thinking about, do I buy base Mosaic? Do I buy rated rookie? For guys like that, like Chenault, your best bet is to go buy like the Optic rated rookie preview cards, the holos. Those are
like
a guy like Chenault you can get for $10.
are those the Donruss insert?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're coming in the Donruss.
Those are sweet cards. Yeah, definitely. That's a good angle, Ty. That's really great advice. Probably a lot of those kind of Judies, a lot of those guys that are you like, long term. Those would be good cards to snag. Those previews, definitely.
For sure. Yeah, those end up doing better than you think long term.
Right.
Yeah.
So, anything else on the rookies you wanted to talk about, Ty? Any numbers from the rookies you wanted to mention from your 2020 poll of data?
Let's see here. Let's look at a couple of the guys that are fascinating to me. I mean, you're looking at, so we'll look at some mosaic. So right now, rated rookies are somewhere between 35 and 50% of the value of a mosaic base.
Okay.
So guys like Chase Young, who are $4 for a base mosaic, you can snag for $2 for a rated rookie. Brandon Ayuk is $3. CeeDee Lamb is $12. It's kind of the range you're seeing at. But your mosaic base is going for 55 on a Joe Burrow, and Herbert's all the way up to 47. That's how these guys are.
Yeah.
But I just a comment about mosaic. Big fan of mosaic. Parallels are great. The base is not holding up like I expected.
That's what I was just gonna say. I'm surprised when you said it was about 50-40%. I thought it'd be lower for Donruss. So that Donruss is even close to half is pretty surprising to me in terms of, just like you said, mosaic's going to be harder to find. The Donruss is going to be the quantity of Donruss is going to be high. We know that. Yeah. And so that was very surprising when you just said that to me.
Yeah, I'll show you something here real quick since folks are watching on YouTube as well. So this is a combined price of the top 10 rookies mosaic base cards. So you can look since the 10th, right? You average out the price of all the top 10 rookies. So that's Burrow all the way down to Henry Ruggs at 10.
Yeah.
The average price was $62 in the 12th. It's all the way down to 34 on September 28th. So yesterday.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's a good illustration and really seeing the group, how they're going together.
But so just so you know, like this green here signifies volume. So there was a ton of volume. Mm-hmm. So I think retail is starting to hit the market and it's diluting the value a little bit and we're seeing prices drop. But I think we're going to say it's going to be a good buy right now. The hype is worn off. Prices have settled. Yeah. That's a good thing.
That's exactly what I was going to say. When I see that 34 Ty, I immediately just think people are paying 65 for 70 on eBay for a mosaic blaster. No, go buy 2 rookies or go buy a rookie of Burrow base. Just go get it now. Just take advantage of those single prices coming down. Because I do think they're low. I think they will come back up. The conditions issue is a little bit scary buying those cards raw right now. But yeah, with that, the price of the product versus the price of the rookies, I think you're right. Those singles are at a great opportunity right now.
For sure. For sure.
So yeah, I was just kind of going into after the rookies here, just kind of coming into the hot players. We've already kind of talked about Josh Allen, Russell Wilson, probably enough. But just overall, it's simple. They got 26 touchdowns together so far this year. So I think that's just amazing. They're just shelling out, just game in, game out. Even like I was really surprised at Allen's how much he put up against the Rams. I thought the Rams would hold him down a bit more. So like I said, I'll give you that round. I'll give you that round, sir. I did want to mention Hopkins. He was kind of a buy in our offseason from a lot of people. We talked about just the move to Arizona, how that could be good for him on that offense. And his volume's just been incredible. He's averaging almost over 10 catches a game right now. He's got 32 catches for 356. And so when you see that, to me, like the first thing I ask is it the Michael Thomas where he's like 8 yards a catch, or is it, is he getting good distance or good average on his catch? He's 11.1 per reception. So he's getting the ball downfield, high volume. He's super effective. And his percent of catch rate is 87%, Ty.
That is crazy. That's a crazy stat.
That's insane. Like, and his average. So what happens is that, and just the simple math of it, is that basically every time he's targeted, they can expect about 9 yards. Targeted, not catches, targeted. And so I just couldn't believe that stat. He's on a big hot streak. I do think with that offense, it makes sense. But just seeing what Hopkins is doing right now is pretty fun to watch. I've always liked him as a player. He's a fun receiver to watch.
Me too. No, huge fan. Huge fan. We glossed over Allen and Russell Wilson, but just again to reiterate, like a 2012 Topps Chrome Russell Wilson number 40, you can buy for $1,500 right now, maybe a few bucks over. Like, just let that like settle.
Is it market tie? Like, what is the? Because the Seattle's got a pretty good football market, at least in terms of fans. But I mean, I don't understand what the reservation. And he has a Super Bowl. He should have two. If you ask Marshawn Lynch and the rest of the world, like how I just don't understand how it's that low. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, it's going to change. It's going to change. Like the pace he's going, barring something catastrophic, like I think that's at least a $3,000 car by the end of the season.
Yeah,
right. I think to me it is the no-brainer. Like that was going to be my clear and away.
Yeah.
Like what's the pick of the week? Like right now, you just if you got the cash to grab that card or go back through any of those, like the other base tops or the SP Authentic or the weird like Tops Magic and all that stuff. Like any of those 2012 Russell Wilsons, I think you're going to be.
I'd even try to get if you're really wanting to, I know it's a little more expensive, but I like getting the SP, the what's it, the towel, no towel.
Right.
Yeah, even going after that, that'd be a fun card to have because that's a little bit more rarer. It's probably going to hold value better. But yeah, I haven't made Russell Wilson being that low since we started studying our rookie data together on the site. I just never understood his value. And really even the next guy on the hot list, Aaron Rodgers, still don't understand his value either. He's just right there. I think he's in mission too. Like I don't think he's that far off from Wilson in terms of, I know Wilson's more of an MVP level and putting up bigger numbers, but Rodgers' career and I don't know, that market's strong, the Packers. So I feel like Rodgers definitely has some room to jump up a little bit higher as well. Mm-hmm. So right now the kind of Rodgers is 71 to 106. He's up to 6-7% for 890. So like I said, really efficient, not a ton of yardage. He's got an 8.5% TD rate, which is actually quite high for a quarterback. So when he's throwing, he's moving the ball downfield and he's getting the ball in the end zone. Essentially, is kind of how I read that. But yeah,
percent. So is that 8% of his passes or for TD?
Right, 8% of his passes. Yeah, 8.5%. So that's it sounds kind of low when you hear that number, but when you think they'll throw 30 times a game, it's actually quite good. So,
right. Kidding.
Yeah. So cold players from last week. Kyler Murray, we already mentioned him with the 3 picks. We've kind of already talked about him in the recap. Josh Jacobs, we talked about him as well, kind of being worried about injury. Anything you want to add to those 2 players, Ty? I got one more.
I told you I'm not overly concerned with Jacobs. I'm not overly concerned with Kyler Murray, and I'm definitely not concerned with Jacobs yet. So those 2 don't concern me. I know your third is going to be Haskins.
Yep, Haskins. Yeah.
My goodness, unbelievable. What are you thinking? Is he done?
I just think that they're giving him a chance, but I do think we just kind of have this underlying story of Alex Smith is getting healthy. I just feel like feels like Alex Smith's gonna take that job back because Haskins doesn't do anything with it. And I felt like a lot of the comments that Rivera made in the offseason about Haskins like need to work on his leadership, looking from a guy from like Rivera who is a tremendous leader. So if Haskins isn't gonna lead the team the way Rivera wants, he'll take any veteran who, even if Alex Smith's 70%, 80%, he'll probably take Alex Smith. And so I can see that change coming soon, especially with, last week he's the really bad thing about Haskins right now is he's 55% completion. So that's like, Josh Allen at his worst in his rookie year, like worst. And he's turning the ball over. So that's not going to work for Rivera and what he wants to do with that offense in terms of getting ball control and playing defense. So definitely just if you're holding on to silvers with him or you're hopeful with him, I definitely would give you some advice to probably get out on that when you can.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. He's down to 330.
Yeah.
He peaked 3 weeks ago at 675.
Yeah,
Like
I
the
saw that.
hobby's realizing, oh boy, like this experiment's failing.
Right. They just thought, oh, he's starting. We got a chance. I mean, same thing. Trubisky had another little upswing when he was going to be the starter again and already back down. They're both going to be ones that you're going to just have in a cardboard box at some point, probably. But yeah. All right. So I had a little segment for this week, just a fun little buy, sell, hold. So no numbers on it in terms of not saying you have any. I'm just going to tell you that kind of mix up the cards a little bit. Went with Prism Silvers, went with off Prism Silvers a little bit, but we got 6 players here. Okay. All right. So we got Deshaun Watson. They're 0-3 Texans right now, but I will say it's probably the hardest 3-game stretch of any team in the league, but they're 0-3. 2017 Prism Silver just sold PSA 10 for $540. Is that a buy or is that a sell or just a hold? What do you think?
It is 1,000,000,000% a buy.
Yeah. I would say a buy too, just based on what you said that Haskins just went for 600 like for a couple weeks ago. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So in the data we put out this past week, the number one volume getter for all of these guys outside of 2020 rookies has been Deshaun Watson. So that tells me one important thing, and that is the market wants him to succeed. Like there's a lot of people actively pursuing him. He's like a lot of guys in the NBA who there's a lot of volume around a guy. Once they have a couple good games, they explode up and everyone's like, whoa, what the heck? It's like, well, no, volume was telling you they wanted something to happen and there's interest in this guy. We're just waiting for the stats to back it. Once he has a couple good games, if he throws 5 touchdowns, he's going to go up $200, $250.
Like the thing is like I kind of put in my opening article that I was concerned about him and the team long term. I was worried about that organization and supporting him, and I still am. Yeah. But even with that worry, 540 for that talent is just not even close. It's not even close. I don't care if he goes 0-16 this year with the Texans and they finally get a new coach. I'd be buying at 540 because I know he's not like his last year of his career. He still has time. And as long as they keep him healthy, maybe they finally make a change in the Texans make a change, and maybe next year is a huge year. So definitely 540 is a no-brainer for sure. Jared Goff, 2016 Prism Silver, PSA 10, 400. I put him on there. The Rams are looking stronger this year. They have picked up their running game though. They are I think I heard the stats say they're the third. Have the third most run volume of any team in the league. So it's not all in Goff's arm right now. But what do you think about Jared Goff at $400?
Sell.
Yeah.
Yep. That'd be a seller. $100.
So,
what about you?
I think I would say a hold, just because I do think it's a good team. I think he might get a little bit of bump through the season. I can just see them having success, but not a long-term buy or nothing I want to go in for long-term. I just think that he's limited as a quarterback. Okay. Derrick Henry, 2016 Prism Silver, PSA 10, 300. Had a pretty big game, back to his normal 120 yards, 2 touchdowns last week, and win over the Vikings. I'll just say one thing before you make your call. The one thing about Henry that a lot of the biggest concerns with running backs is that their longevity in the position. And I just feel like I'm not as worried about that with Henry. I just feel like he'd be around for a long time. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because I kind of feel the same way. I feel like he's the one guy you feel like is invincible. I would say I'm probably a hold at $300, or it's like he keeps at this pace. Maybe he's a $400 or $500 card, but if he's status quo, $300 is probably a little bit too much.
Yeah. It just feels safer than 300 is not a ton within the football hobby, as we've just talked about some of the quarterback numbers, but he's just kind of a safe little, I don't want to say penny stock, but he's just kind of a safe little stock that he can just kind of keep hammering away, and it might be 350 next year, 400 the year after. So yeah, I think a holds a perfect call there. So Miles Sanders, he missed game 1, but since then he's had 230 yards of total offense with the Eagles, and the Eagles have struggled. So that's pretty exciting to me in terms of what he's done with what they have. But his I couldn't find anything graded because he's not like a hot name, so it wasn't too much graded. But a raw silver from 19 was going for 75. How do you feel about Miles Sanders for a raw silver at 75?
Well, that puts him at approximately $300 for a PSA 10. I mean, I wouldn't buy it at $300.
Right.
I'd be seller $300.
Right. Just comparing to Henry just makes that easier when you kind of make that multiplier.
Right. Yeah.
So after the goal line tight end comment, Mike Evans, 2014 Prism rookie, non-variation, BGS 9.5, went for $100 last week.
I'll take them all.
Yeah, so that's a pretty good price for BGS gem. I think $100. That seems relatively cheap. I still think he's gonna have touchdown volume, even if it's not a ton of yards. He's still gonna have touchdown volume with that size he creates in the red zone. He's gonna keep putting up those type of numbers.
Yep.
So I'll give my credit to my buddy Drew. We talked about these numbers together. He's been writing for a site called Upper Elo. It's a football site, and he told me that right now Ridley's on pace for 112 catches, 1,800 yards, and 21 touchdowns. Calvin Ridley's on pace. So buy or sell Calvin Ridley. I have a Prism rookie raw silver at 130.
So that puts him about 400. I'd probably buy at that price. I mean, he's one of the few elite receivers right now you can point to and say he's going to continue to produce. Guy's awesome.
He is awesome, and he's making it look so easy. That's the thing. Like when I'm just watching, he's getting open just so easy. Like every week, he's just torching every DB that's put on him. Like it just seems simple for him. The tide's turning, like we talked about in week 1. He's Julio Jones is starting to kind of fade. He's injured again, and it's Ridley's the guy right now. He's the number 1 target. So yeah. So it's the guys we got there. So I think for Ridley, for me, I think it's a buy too. I picked up a couple, actually a little sale. I got a couple optic rookies of him that I'm excited about. So definitely a guy that I think's got good long-term value for the receiver position. So yeah, perfect.
I like that. Those are 6 fun names to think about.
Yeah, try to mix it up from the regulars a little bit.
Yeah.
So I thought we didn't want to get beat.
You don't want to get beaten by a sell hold again. I get it.
Don't want to make any more bets. So with this week we got Panini Origins coming out. So thought we just kind of talk about with Origins releasing this week. I mean, that's a pretty big product that you and I both like. I think Mosaics had all the attention. Maybe just start with, even before we kind of talk about what to expect in the product. What do you think is going to happen with Mosaic versus Origins? Is the focus going to shift completely, or do you think that it's going to be split, or just how do you think Mosaic and Origins is going to kind of compare to each other on the release?
Well, I mean, Origins is great. I think it's great for what it is, right? It's really the first true on-card auto product that comes out in season. And they're beautiful cards. They kind of have standardized in their look to a certain extent. If you're buying it to collect, I think it's great cards to add to your collection for guys at PC. If you're looking to flip and make money, you got to move relatively fast on Origins, because it will be forgotten by January. It just will. Yeah, it'll be forgotten by December, for that matter. When you have Prism and Contenders out, Origins is an afterthought. It is not a good product for long-term resale value. Just not. But it's a great way to buy and sell and trade kind of rookie values and base on card autos.
So I was impressed with, I wasn't a fan with the black background that they had as much. I really liked the lighter background that I noticed this year. I think that just looks cleaner, and I think the autos are going to look better. And so I really like the kind of the design change they made this year. So I think overall, I was just happy to see the white. They got 42 card autograph checklist, so that's strong. They have a nice dual rookie auto set. Only 7 in that dual rookie auto set, so that could be kind of a fun one to hit, probably tough hit. They got a Burrow Higgins in there and a couple others. All the others don't quite have. They try to do tandems with guys in the same team, so not a lot of teams have prominent rookies, but the Burrow Higgins one's probably the one you'd be chasing for sure. The thing I always like about Origins, and I think that makes it fun in terms, like you said, the PC, is that it's almost, I think every card's numbered almost. It seems like it's just like everything is, essentially, I don't want to say short printed, but this card's 30 out of 99 or 2 out of 50. So that's always fun when your card's, numbered in the sense that, the rarity. I enjoy that part of it when it comes to Origins. But yeah, I think, like you said, PC, it's a good PC card. It's a fun design. don't overinvest in it, but have fun with it. It's probably the simple cliff notes of it, huh?
Yeah, I mean you're at $300 a box. It was a double check here to make sure the price is right. Yeah, I mean you're $300 a box now. I mean you can buy last year's for $285. So just point of reference.
Yeah. So they just didn't budge at all. Yeah, they're just kind of staying right there.
Yeah, I would assume 2018s are. There's probably not a lot of them, but you can get a 2018 if we look at it here a second.
Sure.
It's always good to get perspective on like previous years. Origins 2018 is $350 a box. So again, when you got most wax up 30 to 50%, and you got that product staying pretty still, you gotta know.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Get out quick or collect the cards.
Right. For sure. Awesome. And so we got one more thing I thought just throw at you here at the end as we get ready to wrap it up here. Just kind of constant talk on Patreon, and I think all across maybe the hobbies in general, but specifically your site and Bench Clear is just kind of that big hobby bubble that's building with the mass of people coming in, the products, their sales, the volume, all that stuff being so high. We're already starting to see it somewhat trend down as we've been watching it pretty closely towards the end of the playoffs of some of these sports. And I was just wondering, from your numbers perspective, what are your thoughts on the vulnerability of different sports versus baseball, basketball, and football? Is football more protected because they're harder to find because of the supply is lower than the high volume basketball and baseball? Or is the volume of buyers equal to the volume of product in kind of each of them, where they're going to trend down together if we do indeed see a bubble pop situation? Kind of a loaded question, but what are your thoughts?
Well, so yeah, there's a lot to that question. And I just had a great interview with the CEO of a site called collectible.com, which is selling micro shares and card investments. And you can buy fractional shares in these cards. And we were having the same conversation about it. And I think it'll come out later this week. It'll provide some additional context. But I would say just initial reaction is football to me is probably the least protected of the sports, because of numerous things. One, you don't have the history behind it in terms of like great stable values. You don't have the prospectors and the guys holding for long-term. Maybe some vintage is a little bit safer, but you just don't have a lot of history protecting football. And you guys got so much stinking injury risk around these guys, where all it takes is Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, or a running back and receiver to just get hurt.
Yeah.
And it just affects the kind of the psychology of the products for this year. It just does. So I think that's the risk you run. And yeah, I think there's people pulling some money off the table a little bit. There's a lot of volatility with, other macro stuff like politics and elections and stuff. But
right.
I would be most concerned. We've said this for a long time. Like, football is a tough one to be in. It just is. There's a lot of excitement around football cards right now, but there's also there's a lot of risk in football cards too.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. When I think about it, I just think, like you said, I think so. You're basically saying that supply being low is probably too because there's not much players because it doesn't have the tradition, doesn't background, doesn't have the longevity of basketball and baseball, and it does seem that, like, to me, it's just as a person on the outside looking in, seeing all these different rooms where there's people. A lot of the people come in, the first thing they want to know is, hey, what basketball cards do I get? Or, hey, what baseball cards do I get? You don't really see many people just jump into football right away, even though everybody has a fantasy football team, So it is funny to me to see that separation in those sports when it comes to sports cards, when football does get probably the most viewership, probably, the biggest pull when it comes to fantasy sports and those type of things. So I've always been interested with that.
Yeah, well, you think about it. You think about it in terms of your fantasy team, right? Because I think it does overlap with the way you think about football cards. Where we just talked a second ago about Josh Jacobs, who he didn't have a great game. He's a little banged up, and I'm already thinking, how do I trade this guy and get rid of him?
Yeah.
The rhythm of the football season, I think, makes it actually harder to buy and sell cards, because a game or two really does affect values. Like, you're talking like 15% of the season
Yep. So, and if you equate that to basketball, 2 football games, it equates to like, 15 basketball games or 25 baseball games. Those are big chunks of seasons. And I mean, that's why I got in. That's why I want to start this podcast with you. And that's why I got into this, was because I love seeing that long-term dynasty, that kind of long-range plan when it comes to the cards and the players. And you're right, football, you have a lot of whammies to dodge. It's a little bit harder, and that's why I like kind of applying that to my hobby.
For sure. Yes. Simple advice for those that are just getting into football cards is, don't get too distracted by the next shiny thing. Like stick to the simple products, the rated rookies, the mosaics, the prisms, and the contenders. Like those are the safe places to put your money in football cards.
Yeah.
I was chatting with Scott from Starstock, CEO of Starstock, earlier today. He was telling me that on the football side, like it's moving like crazy. Like the daily transactional volume is insane for football cards. So there's lots of things happening. And actually, that's another point. Like, some volume shifting out of eBay, and you see things dropping, but you got other marketplaces now where you can measure success over there too. So,
and I think places like Starstock are really appealing. Their interface is newer. It looks so clean. It's fun to play around in. I enjoy that site, and I just think that everybody you talk to, I don't care who it is, but I mean, I know you're a big seller on eBay, but everybody's trying to find something else. Like a lot of people are getting really frustrated with that platform being the only place they can go, and it has a lot of issues. And so places like Starstock, places like Facebook, people are looking for anywhere to sell but there. And so definitely the Starstock idea, I've been really intrigued with, just because of the day-to-day buying and selling on there is just fun. Definitely. But
Bench Clear University, you're going to teach us all how to use Facebook to buy and sell cards. I can't wait for this.
I know. I can't wait for that too. We've been talking about that.
I know.
Awesome. Well, I mean, anything we want to talk about? Looking forward to week 4, Ty? Any big matchups or anything that you're interested on? Trying to think here. I think the Sunday night game. No, that's just Falcons and Packers. So we might see another Falcon it.
Right. I mean, I would have loved the idea of the Broncos. I mean, Broncos are going to probably get their first win against the Jets on Thursday night, but I wish it was Drew Lock getting some, prime time exposure.
Yeah. The matchup of the week is probably the Chiefs and the Patriots. Chiefs and Patriots get the kind of feel of what the Patriots actually are, because like we felt all along that the Chiefs are the top team in the league. They're showing that week in and week out. So that'll be interesting to see how that defense of the Patriots, what Belichick comes up with against Mahomes and company, see if they get slowed down at all, or if Cam can get it going against KC. So I'm really interested to see what happens that game in terms of the hobby. And like Browns, you said,
Cowboys, money. That's a great game. See if the Browns are for real.
Yep. The Cowboys really are in a must-win too, so that's kind of it's a tough spot for both teams. I think the Browns are trying to take off to 3-3-1. Dallas can't afford to go 1-3, so yeah, definitely interested in that one. That's kind of all I see off the top there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Bills Raiders will be a good game. Like I want to watch just for Josh Allen, but I'm really curious to see how the Raiders respond after getting slapped. So.
I'm really the long-term plan with the Raiders with Gruden and stuff is that he's been every draft they've been saying he's been trying to trade for a quarterback. I'm just wondering if they're in quarterback purgatory where they're just going to be stuck at this 8-8 level because they can't get the guy in there to move the ball like he wants to. So we'll kind of see if that transpires this year, because they just kind of highs and lows. If they're running the ball and playing defense, they'll be good. If they can't, they have to throw, they're in trouble. Yeah, and we'll see if Lamar bounces back against the Redskins. If Chase Young's out, he probably should have another heyday and get people back on his side.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thanks for being part of episode 3, Ty. Appreciate you coming on, sharing your wisdom with us back in the mountains.
We did a disservice to the Steelers. Like, they're playing really well. Which means we need to have Shani on next week for week 4. I think Shani will be your guest.
Yeah, let's do it.
Exposure to the Steelers.
That's awesome. I want Shani on. I would be honored.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
All right.